this is really, really important. How to proceed with self-help without self-criticism. Many of us grow up with some sense of I'm not enough, some sense of I'm not good enough, or just in general, I'm not enough. And this push towards self-help and self-improvement can really be a very deep form of self-criticism, a deep form of feeling not enough. So I really want to talk about navigating that space. One of the most important things to be aware of is to not fall into self-criticism because it's hard to change, and not to have it come from a place of I'm defective, I have to change. Okay, so I think many of you have heard me say that there was a very famous Zen teacher, I think it was Suzuki Roshi, who said to his crowd who came to listen to him talk, and Zen masters can talk in a very slow manner, and he said to the crowd, he looked around and took his time, and then he looked people in the eye, a handful of people in the eye in the crowd, and said, "You are perfect exactly as you are." And then there was sort of a big pause. And then he said, "And you could use a little improvement." So it's sort of a funny thing, but that's sort of the approach to take, like a very gentle, of course, all of us can improve. Like, we are human, right? And we have pluses and minuses. We do things that are somewhat self-destructive. We do things that are good for ourselves. And moving in the right direction is a wonderful way to be and to experience life and to do it with a positive energy. So I want to talk about a handful of ways that I've seen this come up as self-criticism. Let's say you decided that you're going to start a habit of meditating 10 minutes a day for 2 weeks. And after 3 days, you forget or something happens and you don't do it. And then that night you start criticizing yourself. It could turn into a big story. It could turn into a story of, I never stick through with anything. I never, can keep up a good habit. It's sort of hopeless. Why do I bother? And all of that, like self-criticism, just makes things worse. So as we are learning new habits, developing new tools, beginning to try to add things that bring us joy into our day, let's not add on top of it self-criticism. And people sometimes think that they have to beat themselves up or they won't do anything. Like, if I don't talk to myself in a nasty way, I won't get off the couch, I won't go exercise, I have to be critical of myself. And it's actually not true at all. And if you can think in your life of people who have motivated you or encouraged you or helped you develop new traits, like you might have had a mean coach in high school, right? Like, I've had some clients who actually their coaches were so nasty they had trauma from being on a sports team with a horrible coach. And sure, that coach maybe for a little while got them to do things beyond what they would have wanted to do, but long term, that did not help them develop a love of exercise, a love of the sport, or really continue to perform. And many of us will rebel quickly. But not everybody's like that. I understand some people will put up with it longer, but it does cause us to rebel. And so we don't want to be a nasty coach in our own head. And if you think about the good coach, like a good coach takes into consideration the strengths and weaknesses of the people they're coaching, highlights the strengths, celebrates the strengths, and then comes up with tools and techniques to help the weaknesses either not impact them as much or to gradually begin to improve in those areas, right? So a good coach takes that all into account, and we can do that for ourselves without being harsh and negative. I've heard this recently a couple times by, someone who's saying, "Oh, I've never been able to get a regular meditation program going." And you know what? If meditation, and I know for this person, meditation is a very important part of their life, and they have gone in and out of it, that's wonderful, right? That's wonderful. It does not have to be perfect. I miss days all the time, right? And I honestly, I don't really even think about it too much. Like, I might notice if I've missed 2 days, due to travel or like my schedule changing. I'll notice, like, ooh, I'm not feeling as good, or there's a negative impact of that. But I don't get really harsh, right? I just am like, hmm. And then, there's days I do it when I don't really feel like it, and I can encourage myself to do that because I know it's better for me long term. So there are days where I'm like, ooh, I want to skip today, but I do it anyway. And then there's also days where I'm like, ooh, I want to skip today, and I skip, okay? Like, this is just life. I want you to enjoy life more. I want you to enjoy yourself. Hi, just popping in real quick during the editing process here to let you know that this video was taken from a live that I did in my online program, where we have a Facebook group and I go live and people can ask questions and we talk about topics relevant to the program. The program is Roadmap to Joy and Authentic Confidence. A link is below if you'd like more information on that. All right, just wanted to let you know because the video is also a little bit more informal than my usual ones, and I am definitely jumping around the screen a little bit more than usual. So, all right, let me know how you like this video. And if you do like it here on YouTube, do me a favor and hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Thanks. So, rather than having self-improvement come from a place of I'm not good enough, if it can come from a place of like, I'm a complex human being, just trying to do the best I can on this crazy planet. This is a crazy planet. Life's sort of a crazy thing. Yeah, I'm doing the best I can. And I'd like to change this habit. And I'd like to cut back the hours I'm working and, put in more connection time with friends or family or even with myself. For all humans, changing habits is hard. Habits are very, very ingrained in our procedural brain. It's a part of our brain that learns to drive the car, learns to ride a bike, anything you do a lot. People who play the piano probably can do scales their entire life, even if they haven't played for 50 years. So repetitive behaviors are in procedural memory. Things like brushing your teeth before you go to bed, your habits, your daily habits, your morning habits, those things are very ingrained, and so therefore it's hard to change them. So if you're having a hard time changing certain habits, to be able to say to yourself, yeah, I'm a complex human being, and it's hard for humans to change their habits, and I'm giving this a try. And then think through what might help me here. Would some accountability help? Would having a partner who's also changing this habit, a friend or someone in my family, do it with me? What's going to help me? The other thing that can help with habit change is tying it to another habit, right? Like, I've actually had a hard time getting myself to work out in the mornings, which used to be way easier for me. I think part of it is my shoulder injury and the fact that I can't do the workouts that were fun for me. So I'm doing ones that aren't as much fun. And one thing, and I think I've mentioned this before in group, is one thing is like if I wake up in the morning and I immediately put on my exercise clothes, I may not exercise right away, but I'm way more likely to get to it than if I just get dressed in regular clothes and then when I want to exercise, I have to go change, blah, blah, blah. So those little dumb things make it a lot easier. Okay. I also want to talk about some of the other habits of mind that limit us, right? Or that are difficult to change. And one of those is the negativity bias. That's very deeply ingrained, right? So again, if you're trying to change that because it will make you happier, because it will make your life more fulfilling, not because there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm a normal human being and I have a negativity bias. And then another one I want to mention that I'll probably do a short video on for YouTube, but is loss aversion, right? So humans have an innate desire to avoid loss that's actually been sort of statistically proven to be greater than our desire to gain. So there's been, a lot of studies in terms of like the financial world and other areas. We always want to avoid disappointment. I think losses are so hard for us because we feel disappointment. And disappointment's okay. Sometimes in life, we will all be disappointed. So knowing you have these habits, right, can help you navigate that space of how do I do this differently? How do I improve in this area without feeling like there's something wrong with you? So if you ever notice that you really are going into some deep self-criticism, sometimes even self-rejection, or it could even go to self-hatred in a way, because of trying to change some of the habits, then my recommendation is probably to put that habit change aside and be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Oh, last thing popped into my head of how humans work and why habit change can be so hard for us. So many of our bad habits, right, are ones that give us a really quick positive feeling. Long term might be destructive, but short term it's like, oh, I want that. And putting that off for longer term gain is hard for everybody. So remembering that and being compassionate with yourself is the most important. All right. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I really would be interested to know what you think. Have a great day.